Good evening and welcome to the June 7th, 2017 meeting of the Gaithersburg Planning Commission. First up is the approval of our minutes from May 17th. May 17th. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of May 17, 2017 as read on the record.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
One abstention. So 405. That passes. Thank you. Next up is our record plats, and it looks like, Trudy, we have one.
Yes, we have a plat of correction for the Spectrum. It's plat 11 and it's RP-7617, and it's been through all the reviews and approvals and all the corrections are right.
Just curious, what kind of corrections? Just administrative stuff, or is there a...
The square footage of the acreage of the plat was incorrect, and so the
boundaries
surveyor,
didn't move, though?
no boundaries changed, or they were corrected.
Okay, good. Any questions?
No.
Is there a motion on the record plat agenda, please?
I move that we approve the plat agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. That takes us then to consent items, and there are none tonight. And then that then takes us to sign permits, and there is one for sign-4164-2017 edible arrangements signage at 76 Market Street in the MXD Mixed Development Zone. And this is for an icon sign approval. It looks like Jasmine Forbes is moving into the presentation spot. Good evening, Jasmine.
Good evening. So this application is for the edible arrangement signage located at 76 Market Street within the Kentlands. This application comes before the Planning Commission because the proposed sign contains an image of a basket with flowers, the edible arrangement products they sell, which is considered an icon sign. Icon signs require Planning Commission approval per Section 24-212J of the City Sign Ordinance. As you can see here, the proposed sign will be approximately 26 square feet with internally illuminated lit channel letters. The sign will have the name of the business and, of course, the icon sign. So there's no approved sign package for that shopping center, but the overall look of that sign is just similar to what's already there. Staff recommends approval of sign-14164-716 based in the exhibits submitted in the staff report, find it in compliance with section 24-212 of the city sign ordinance. And if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Oh,
So
that was a trick.
I'll wait for comments. Yeah,
That was a
that's
trick.
I'll wait.
And just for the record, is there anyone here that was going to comment on this application? Okay, I guess not. And you read the recommendations, so we're good there. And whoever the first to say that it looks good enough to eat is going to be invited.
It would usually be you, so.
Technically, you just said it.
So-
Yeah, that was very clever, wasn't it? Yeah, very clever way to slip it in. I just
Any issues? Go ahead.
just wanted to quickly say that I think this is in keeping scale-wise with a lot of the icons we do approve. Don't overwhelm the sign. Really, the text and the name of the establishment is primary, and the logo is really an addition to the text. So I think it's easily approvable in my mind.
No problem.
And I didn't research it specifically, but I'm guessing it's consistent with their branding for print and collateral and everything else. So it's, yeah, nothing unusual.
No.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Are we ready for an approval?
Yep.
Motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that based on the exhibit submitted in the staff report, findings and recommendation, grant sign 14164-2017, finding it in compliance with section 24-212 of the city code.
Second.
You know what's funny?
Did I just say something funny?
No, the sign, just for the record, the recommendation has sign-14164, and the agenda heading is 4164. I don't know what's right, but I'm sure we can sort it out in the minutes and the references later. But
You said, and then
in the where you make your recommendation,
Oh, yeah, it's reversed,
Oh,
yeah.
it is.
I don't know if it's missing a number in the heading or it's adding a number. Okay,
Missing the one.
so whatever the right number is, just note it in the record.
So I believe I stated it correctly then. Thank you. It wasn't funny.
You have your moments.
Oh, yes.
All right, very good.
Need a second.
I interrupted. I'm
No,
sorry.
I didn't
Is there a
say
second,
second.
please? We have-
Second.
Second, okay. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. So what is it, is it the larger number? Is that the 141?
The 141.
1-4.
Are they all that way? Is that the format for the format numbers?
It has grown sequentially.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
In the permit side of things, we are in to the 1400.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
14,000
Sure.
far as applications.
Okay. Thanks. All right, next up is a recommendation to the Board of Appeals for BOA-7607-2017. Edward Donahue for T-Mobile at 12 South Summit Avenue, in the CBD Central Business District Zone. For a stealth communications facility, this is a special exception, and presenting from staff is Caroline Seiden. Good evening.
Good evening. This is an application for a special exception for a stealth telecommunications facility on the rooftop at 12 South Summit Avenue, which you see right here in blue, right on the corner of South Summit and Old Town Avenue, just across the street. And the applicant is T-Mobile, and they are requesting 9 antennas in 3 different sectors. Special exception, or telecommunications facilities are required to be either completely enclosed in a facility or in a building, or as a stealth facility in the CBD zone. So that is why they are here before you. Tracy Themack is here from Donahue and Stearns, along with Wesley Winter and Roy Mummy from Advantage Engineers, and I will
Welcome
turn
all.
it over to them.
All right.
Good evening, planning commissioners. Thank you for having us. We basically are here to concur with clearly staff's recommendation. We feel the staff report was fairly thorough. We believe this is a really good site. We're looking at making the stealth screen wall, which will be both in that northern sector and in the southwestern sector, I think actually more attractive with the screen wall, getting it cleaned up. As Caroline mentioned, we are proposing 9 antennas. 3 of those will be future antennas. 6 will go in immediately, 2 in each of the 3 sectors. And then we will have approval for when we need an upgrade or changing in equipment. Those 3 will come along. So that's why you don't have the equipment specs or dimensions for 3 of them. We're primarily here to answer any additional questions you have. We have our engineer. We have some of the materials that are going to be used. I don't want to take up too much of your time being redundant with what staff has already presented. So primarily here to answer questions.
All right. Any questions yet? Let me ask you on the proposal to take down the existing cornice and replace it. Is the extent of that only the corner, sort of the tall tower element of the building? You're not carrying that back, right?
Right. It would just be for that.
And for the record, we're not going to remove the existing cornice. The stealth is actually going to straddle down over top of that, so we won't violate the integrity.
Okay, that makes me
of the
feel better. So you're
existing
not dismantling the
Push the
building.
microphone towards
Correct. We
him.
will not be dismantling the building.
Thank you.
This is a little bit of a crystal ball question, but what is the expected life cycle of these antennae? And I'll tell you where I'm going with this, just because in most conditions we talk about stealth antennae, they're relatively benign conditions. They're kind of back on a, say a rooftop equipment screen, or they're something somewhere where if it goes away, the rest of the building comes back sort of in its original form. This, what I'm nervous about, is scarring what essentially is a fairly significant piece of the architectural detailing that then one day when the technology is obsolete, we're left with, a scarred building in a way.
Sure, and that's exactly why we designed it to where the stealth cornice is going to straddle the existing cornice without changing that architectural structure. So if the technology changes or T-Mobile goes away, the original building, we remove our stealth, we remove our antennas, your cornice is still there. We're not drilling into the face of the cornice or anything. We're mounting from the backside to the existing steel structure.
Okay.
And I believe that's one of the recommendations of the of staff, that one of the conditions, that once that it's if it's no longer in use or it's obsolete, it has to be removed immediately.
Right. Okay. And then, so talk more about what the material is that is the shroud for the technology.
Well, we can pass that around here. This is an example.
So there's an existing screen wall in the back that you can't see from the ground, and that's what this
You don't need
is.
to be by microphone because we're recording this, so.
Yeah, you do need to make sure to do that.
Is that on?
Test.
Yes.
There's-
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? There's an existing screen wall on the back side of the building where one sector is going, and that's what that piece of material being passed around now is going to be to house, it's an RF-friendly material, so one sector will be behind that. This here is an RFP material. Again, it's an RF-friendly fiber reinforced panel, and that'll be what the cornice is made out of. And again, very high resistance, strong, durable, the way it's designed and manufactured. The wind loading, it can support 100-mile-an-hour winds with no problem.
So how is it molded and formed to take on the shape of the cornice? It looks like in your rendering or your photoshopped picture, it takes on the same, sort of the same contour as the...
Right. Stealth, yes. And that's all in the designs. And do you have a copy of the designs that we can pass around?
It's on the screen. It's on the screen. We don't need to pass it around.
Okay, you don't need it?
It's on the, if you step back, like, if you went to the podium, you could probably see better what's going up on the screen.
There it is.
Yeah, stealth concealment, we'll design it to match identical to what's in our designs that
The podium.
pretty much mimics the existing cornice.
This drawing doesn't have nearly the profile that your photo exhibit does.
Correct. When we first initially did the Sims, we hadn't gone all the way to the preliminary designs out of stealth. So, but those Sims are showing
What do you mean by Sims?
the photo
Simulation.
Sims.
Okay.
They're showing the angle of the cornice that are in this design.
So that's a little bit more accurate than what this implies.
Correct.
Okay.
So what is this exactly? Is this for? Is this some sort of protection? This one.
The one sector on the back side of the building that you can see from here
Right.
is already an existing green screen wall there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's going to be in front of the antennas. That's going to be on that screen wall.
Okay.
And
Go
I
back to the
guess it's
back
going from
one.
metal.
you don't have a sim because you can't see it from the
Right.
ground.
Right. Exactly.
We've even taken pictures across the street and you can't
You
see
can't
that
see
screen
it.
wall.
Right.
It's similar to a roof screen that we have around a mechanical
Yeah.
equipment.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So I thought it would be heavier, but I mean, there's no problem with like wind and.
No,
this
no,
won't
sir. No, sir.
get blown off
These
or
have been installed in cell sites around the country and have taken all kinds of wind loads and have many years in service
Okay.
without any problems.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right. Where do we go next? Actually, let me ask you kind of a question that clarifies the process. So in the past, when we've seen these for recommendation to the Board of Appeals, it's really been more of a use impact kind of thing and, compatibility with the existing context, the building design. It's rare that we see something like this that actually modifies the facade of an existing building.
Yeah.
In another context, if somebody were doing substantial modifications to a facade, we'd be seeing it as an amendment to final plan. So I'm just trying to get a sense of what we're really talking about tonight. And
Well, you would be making a recommendation for the whole facility, including the facade. I'm not sure if it were just a change in the facade to cover up the cornice, it would probably be something we might do as staff approval.
Okay.
Trudy might want to weigh in on that. But the Board of Appeals essentially would be approving it in the same manner that you would approve a site plan, and they have the ability to do that.
But I guess that's what I'm asking is, are we really talking about facade modifications, or is it really about the use and?
It's really about the use.
Yeah.
It's about, because the use is a special,
Right.
the use is a special exception in the CBD zone, and it is required in the CBD zone to be a stealth facility. You would see this in another zone as well, to make a recommendation for a telecommunications facility. For instance, in the MXD zone, it's required to be a special exception as well. It's just not required to be a stealth facility in
Right,
the MXD
yeah,
zone.
yeah.
So there's a little, that's the added layer.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the first time that we've had a stealth facility.
Well, and especially in trying to be a part of a relatively complex facade thing, it's, like I said, it's usually kind of set back on a
Yeah.
parapet or on a mechanical screen or something.
A couple questions.
Yeah, Trudy, do you want to weigh in on the issue of what approvals were in play?
So that we're not the city has always had a policy so that if we're not onerous on the applicant, so we consider the Board of Appeals application as equal to a final
Right.
site plan.
Okay. Or amendment to plan. at this point.
Amendment to
Yeah.
plan, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. I clarify.
Matt.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
If we could just talk a little bit more about the structure. So I'm gonna talk probably more about the facade than I am about the use, which I think is great, obviously. It's really just about the changes to the facade. I think predictably, that's what bothers me the most. We are penetrating that precast facade of the brick just below it, right? We have it hangs off the top, but it has a secured bracket. There's, 4, 8, 12, 16 of them that actually bolt into the facade of the building, right? So we are penetrating the building 4 times 16, whatever that is. So that many times. There's going to be that many holes in the building. Something less than 80, whatever it is, 70
64.
holes. Thank you. There's someone who's going to chime in.
There's an app for that.
Called the
The,
calculator
so
abacus.
64 holes in the building, and all in that brick as it runs along the base of the precast. I'm not sure exactly where it hits, but, that are going to do some damage to the existing facade. There's sort of that question. The other question would be, as you're looking at the underside of this, which is what under pedestrian in Old Town will do, right? Every passing car, every person, every festival, it's a pretty prominent facade for us. The underside of this has the channel revealed, right? There's no finish on top of it, and the finish is above the channel, so you actually see all that crenellation.
No, we're
melting and all that
gonna
kind of stuff.
finish the underside to where when you're down below looking up, you
So the
cannot
same
see.
panel that's vertically is going to cover the bottom.
Correct.
Okay, so we should get that in exhibit before it gets too much further.
I think to interject there, the rule of thumb or the objective is there's precast up there now, or there's some form of stone/precast. This needs to appear as much like that as possible, that the integrity of a fully, masked out cornice, and anything that looks tacked on or looks fake or looks, that just completely pulls back the quality of the building.
Sure.
Yeah, some unsolicited advice would be that, precast is a very heavy material and it's a traditional building essentially. And so it's, if you sort of break the tectonic promise where you've said this big heavy thing and it's not being held up and it looks like it's floating above the facade, which your rendering looks like to me, it's going to look odd. Everybody's going to look at it and they'll be uncomfortable with it. Lay people will look at it and they won't know why, but it's uncomfortable because it's a great big heavy thing that doesn't look like it's physically attached. So that physical return becomes really important, and then how it gets back to the building. My second set of just sort of concerns are that, the articulation in the existing precast that has 2 wings and a centerpiece, the column returns slightly. And I don't see a reason why your design can't make that same bump. Like, looking at where your antennas are and then how it would make the bump, it's a little more steel work. It's a couple more panels and probably a few more holes in the building, for a couple more legs. But you could make the same move that the existing precast makes and still sort of reflect the verticality of that corner. It has a corner piece that goes straight up and then 2 wings, and before you get to the wing, it steps back slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that same move in your new material that would reflect what's going on below it.
You really illustrate. Oh, there it is. You really illustrate it in your side-by-side photos, when you can see where you essentially smoothed out a lot of what was kind of interesting about the cornice before. But like Matt's saying, there's no reason you would have to.
It's a little extra steel,
Sure.
and a couple extra panels, but it looks like it won't affect your antennas to me. You've got them well placed, and you might have to move them over a bay or something, but it looks like it'll work to me. So I would, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't articulate your new screen wall the same way that the existing building is essentially articulated. I like the curve. I think you got the reveal in there. It's almost there. You're just sort of missing that step that reflects the actual corner condition. That to me is almost a matter of taste. Making sure the bottom is connected to the building and it's sort of, its arms, nice strong shoulders is critical. I don't think that's a matter of taste. I think that's a must. But having it not reflect.
How far is the projection on the underside in
Yeah,
real terms?
that's a
How
good
many
point.
inches? How many feet? What is What is the projection?
When you're saying on the other side.
On the underside, when you look up.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, on the
And
underside,
you
I'm
say you're
sorry.
gonna finish that return, what's the depth there, do you think?
4 foot.
Nah, can't be that much.
Yeah, it's 4'2" to the back side of your bracket according to this
Oh,
drawing.
you're right, I'm sorry,
So-
I'm looking at because I'm looking at the underside projection there.
Gotcha. So it's 3 feet maybe?
Significant.
Let me see if he's got it in here.
Four. Looks like 4.
2'10".
Something landed on top.
But again, I think a lot of that dimension has to do with something that Matt is proposing to fix, because they're trying to adjust the return by smoothing it out. I think if they were to follow the contour, you probably can get closer to the building and avoid that massive overhang.
Yeah, I think that's where that needs to
Maybe.
go.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I don't know what distance the antenna needs, but obviously it wants to be at the minimal dimension it could possibly be and still be able to put an antenna in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as you turn, right, so if you smoothed out the corners and plan, you'd have a little less, it would look a little less heavy.
Because
A little less fake.
This is your last.
Yeah,
Fake
a
is
little
a
less
word. That's a
tacked
good-
on, yeah.
Good word, fake.
Yeah, because there is going to be some differentiation visually between your material and the precast, there just is. You know, that's not gonna mimic precast. It's pretty high up, so I'm not too terrified of it. And as long as it's sort of, you know, stuck with the original architecture, there's also a mirror across the street too, so it's not like it's a big mystery.
Well, I think, you know, architecturally, if you look at the cornice that steps down to the side of the building, then the new addition actually matches that fairly accurately. So there's that continuation that they're adding.
Okay.
So I'm
Well,
not
would
sure
you
where to go.
recommend
Gonna
that
do
that
all
a
the-
condition be added that the applicant submit revised drawings to show the stealth material mimicking the existing
Concurrent.
cornice?
Right. I like that.
Yeah, I think
The
that's-
Yeah,
design
to an
language of
extent
the
that,
existing
yeah,
cornice.
staff's comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not precast, but it could
Is
certainly.
that something you want them to bring back to?
Condition.
I think
Do
you
you feel
guys,
comfortable shepherding that? I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
then I feel comfortable. So.
maybe I just add a little more articulation
Yeah,
to it that
no,
does the
I-
building
yeah.
footprint. I think you guys can follow that up.
Okay.
Do we want that as a condition?
How does that work?
We can, well,
Because we're doing recommendations, so.
you can add it as a condition of your recommendation,
Yeah.
and depending on their timing, it would either come out from, if it's completed by the time they get to the Board of Appeals, or
It would be a condition of
It
the
would
Board
be-
of
they
Appeals.
would
I
have
mean,
to
it would,
come back to
the-
it would
to
continue to be
either
a
way,
condition of the
yeah.
Board of Appeals.
Yes.
Good. Do you want to read it into the record formally for?
Okay, and the applicant submit revised drawings showing the stealth material mimicking the existing cornice.
Good.
So that's the 5th condition.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, now just as an aside, just to kind of get a little smarter about this, you're putting it on the face there as opposed to, say, on a higher parapet that's set back like a roof screen or a mechanical screen, because of the coverage, the way the spread is broadcast into Old Town there or something. Is that the,
Well, yeah, because of the height of the screen wall and the setbacks, you get a lot of shadowing out of the bottom of the antenna if you're sitting too far back off the roof.
Sure, okay.
So it shadows a lot of that signal. So you want to get it as close to the edge as possible,
I see.
especially on lower roofs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that works better than co-locating on some of the towers that are already around.
In this area, yes.
Really?
Yes, because the issue is more about capacity. Technology just growing the way it is today. Capacity is the issue. It's not about coverage, it's more about capacity. So getting into cities
Yeah.
and
So is this broadcasting like is it called small scale? Is that what
Small
we're saying?
cell.
Small cell. Is this a small cell or just still
no, sir.
conventional?
This is still original
Yeah, okay.
macro cell.
Yeah. All right. just for background. Any other comments or concerns? Are you guys comfortable with the recommendation moving forward with the condition that we've added?
Yep.
Yes.
Is the applicant's team comfortable with the condition? Do you understand what we're looking for and or what
Mhm.
we're recommending we look for?
No, we can work to get a drawing for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just because the TV cameras are pointed here, not toward the audience, I'll have to say, is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak tonight and acknowledge that there probably isn't? Unless they're hiding in some deep dark corner. Okay, so let's move to the recommendation. then.
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendation, recommend approval of special exception BOA 7607-2017 with 5 now conditions as listed and read into the record.
Great. Any concerns, questions?
Sounds great.
All right, ready for motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony and the staff report, findings and recommendation, we recommend approval of special exception BOA 7607-2017 with the 5 conditions as listed.
Second?
To move to the second, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thanks very much. Appreciate you coming in and showing us the proposal. All right, that takes us to site plans on our normal agenda, but we don't have any of those this evening. So we'll go to from the commission, and Ruth Zally, may I start with you tonight?
I just want to remind everyone about our June 13 lecture. It's a partnership between the city and the Kentlands Community Foundation. We have brought in Rick Hall, who's a transportation engineer, who will be taking a close look to Kentlands Boulevard, and I have personally transferred all the information we discussed at our previous meeting to him. And so he's ready to provide like recommendations that he can implement immediately, 6 months, and then move forward with to actually absorb the capacity that will potentially be added with the construction, densification of the boulevard. But all in all, I have worked with Rick Hall in the past. He's an excellent professional. He is really excited about working in this project, and so I encourage everyone to come and to listen what he has to say. He will be walking the site. He will be taking a really good approach to how convey to the general public what his impression is of the site and what his recommendations will be.
Good.
Excellent. Matt, anything tonight?
I guess I know I've said it before, so it's a little bit of crying wolf, but things are really, really progressing quickly in the world of the built environment and planning. That our changes are happening very, very quickly in terms of what kind of uses go into buildings now and what kind of uses support an active street, support a community. So it's really kind of making my head spin, and I love this stuff. So it's, I think having gone, like I said, to APA, ULI, CNU and AIA, I think they're all sort of really focused on a lot of these new uses, and I applaud staff for adopting some of our use language around the unknown businesses that are coming out, unknown uses, and then just we as a planning commission sort of are going to have to start struggling with new definitions of what's going on in these buildings, and then helping our development community put the right building up that will still be useful in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the rapid rate of change is shocking even to me. So that's all.
So we shouldn't hold out for a shopping mall proposal then?
I'm sure it'll come in. I'm absolutely positive.
All right, Lloyd.
Nothing further.
Just to dovetail what Matt said, it's really exciting to see all the fencing around the building here, and just a few blocks up the street, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it is really nice to see the environment becoming up to date, and it's really good to see the movement and change.
Yeah, I mean, reinvestment in development is a good sign in any city, right? So it's good to see it around. Hey, let me ask.
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
No, I guess you were.
I didn't know if you were going to talk about the Maryland Planning Commissioners Association outreach.
Oh, can you do that? I left my
Then I'll do
paperwork.
it at my
Yeah,
desk.
yeah. Yes, I am a part of that. I'm sorry.
Anything else, Ken?
No, that's it.
Can I ask if with, I guess, Commission's concurrence, that we get back on a track or a schedule for planning awards? It doesn't have to happen next month, but, could we start to scope out how we might make that happen? And where it would fit well with all the various and competing needs and demands of staff? You guys good with that? See if we can-
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
We'll get some stuff coming up too, which
Yeah.
is be helpful.
Good. All right. Trudy, do you want to jump in with your list of
From
things?
staff,
or
well,
Jasmine?
Jasmine's going to go
Okay.
first.
So the Fitzgerald Lake Forest Auto Mall had approached staff about possibly putting solar panels on top of the parking garage. That was first reviewed and approved by Planning Commission a couple months ago. And if you can see on the screen, there's some concept ideas what they want to do. So this is the view from Russell Avenue. And here's a view from 355, and then here's the side view. So what staff is looking for from commission is to allow planning staff to review this additional part of the parking garage and make it part of their final package.
They're not flirting with any height restrictions at this point, are they?
Did I say it?
They're not bumping up against any height restrictions by proposing this, yeah?
No. It's in the
I'm fine with that. I
C2
think
zone.
it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my 2 cents, the parking garages are often like without a top. It looks like a building that somebody forgot to put the roof on it. So any sort of detailed edge that sort of finishes the building, I think is great on parking garages. So it just so happens to have an aesthetic benefit as well as obviously power and
better than coal fire.
environmental benefits. So I think it's super cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Do it. Any concerns? No?
I
Okay.
don't think it's federal policy.
We're all for solar. We're all for solar.
Reserve that.
We feel directed. The second item from staff is we received today the images that the Parks, Recreation, and Culture and the city would like to put up. It's a temporary banner. Well, there's going to be more than one. They'd be putting these up in front of Borough Park on the utility poles. And of course, there is an icon on it of the Summerfest icon. So we're seeking your approval of the icon sign for this.
Look at that.
I like that.
Yes, that consolidates now the 4th of July and the Old Town Days
Yes.
events, right? Into
Yes.
one. Yeah.
All in Canada Day.
What's that?
All on Canada Day.
Is that what it is? Canada Day?
I'm married to a
Shameless
Canadian,
plug.
That's- Well, that's something you can add a maple leaf up there if you want.
No, I think
So-
it's a great looking sign.
Yeah. What, you just looking for concurrence? Or?
An okay of the icon and to
Okay.
allow staff to
Yes.
approve this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will work
With
further
maple
with them
leaf,
and
yeah.
have them fill out a
Very
signed
small.
application.
Okay.
They get in.
You should have received an email from the Maryland Planning Commissioners Association
Yes.
about their outreach project that is coming up, and the closest one to the city of Gaithersburg is Wednesday, June 28th in Frederick. And they are just having meetings with planning commissioners in the area. So.
And to that point, and the reason that when you said that, because I knew that was coming up, and I apologize for that, but I'm working to try to get one at the library in Gaithersburg
Okay.
sometime in July, but I'm still working on it. It's not finalized.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on that committee, so we've been working hard to get that outreach done.
So just
Yeah.
try not to have it on a planning commission night.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm looking for Thursday, not a
You can
Wednesday.
do it on a Rockville Planning Commission night, though.
Also, just to let you know, they are having an annual conference November 2nd and 3rd at the Tidewater Inn in Easton, and which is a very lovely location. And that's coming up
That's what we did.
in November, so we'll talk more about that
Right,
later.
Yeah, we were shooting for October, we couldn't find a good date, so that was the November, because we normally do it at the end of October, but that was the best date we could find.
Yeah.
You've been, what
Yeah.
sort of content goes on at this?
It's pretty much like, stuff, ex parte communication, that's one of the huge things that they talk about, but
Mhm.
just the role of the planning commissioner, the role of boards of appeals, and just kind of, some of the hot topics around that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but one of the big ones is always ex parte communication. Yeah,
Okay.
and conflicts of interest.
Maybe they look at Maryland law more probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hot topics. I don't know.
Not as sexy, right? Not as sexy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
I'm
is,
not convinced yet.
Not sexy enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Not yet. Maybe it is. I don't know.
and our next two meetings, one is Wednesday, June 21st, and then the first meeting in July is Wednesday, June 5th.
July 5th.
Sorry, July 5th. We do have a tentative date of July 10th for the joint work session on the Kentlands Apartments,
Okay.
but we are still waiting to see if we have materials for you to review for that. So we will be meeting with the applicant this week, and then once we feel that that meeting will happen, we'll send out a notice and request a polling notice.
Good. Okay, good. Anything else? Frank?
I did have just a follow-up on what I mentioned at the last meeting, which was a change in the Public Information Act requiring, Open Meetings Act, requiring that members go through training. The September 12th date is being put together. That will be at the Casey Center. So there's some details that are being worked out, but that should be coming out, so tentatively put that on your calendar if you can attend. There is an online option as well if you can't. You do need as a commission to designate, that is by state law, designate somebody. All should attend the training if you can, but you do need to designate at least one member
Who won't back out?
who is the designated member, because that becomes important if just to satisfy that state law
Fair
requirement,
enough.
if there was a need for a closed meeting. If we can assume the chair or vice
Yeah,
chair.
I would
or
certainly
the-
assume that. Why don't we put it on our agenda for July to commit, so we have some time to look at our calendars
time
and
for
be able to
that.
do that? Would that work for you?
Sure, sure.
What's the date,
Okay.
Frank?
The date that we've got now will be
September
September 12th.
Maybe you could, Mary,
Yeah,
or
bring
you
it
guys
in.
could poll us and we could
Right.
get it on the record, then we'll
Right.
discuss it on July.
And once we have the formal info,
Yeah.
but certainly for the designation, yes, just on an agenda between now and then, we should
Okay.
be in good shape.
Good. All right, thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Have a good evening. We're adjourned.